Alright, so when we first open Gear Generator, we're going to get a window that looks sort of like this. We'll have two gears. I've already set my shaft spacing to be 6.4 centimeters. Notice I am working completely in metric because the Tetrix system is based off a 32 millimeter pattern. So if I do 6.4 centimeters, that's 64 millimeters, or 2 of the hole spacings wide. And then I've got my gears set up how I want them. Now, before we can import this into Inventor, we have to do a couple things. First thing I'm going to do is there are these blue lines. We don't want those. Those will be extra stuff we have to clean out later, so I'm going to turn them off. I'm going to stop my gears from rotating, and I'm going to make them unmeshed, so we've got this gap in between them. And then for convenience, I'm going to rotate them to a 0% of their rotation, and then I'm going to turn off the grid. I'm also going to turn off those little center crosses, and then the last thing I'm going to do is turn off spokes on this one gear, because with what I'm doing I don't want spokes. Now if I go up to export, I want to do the basic DXF, and then I can just save this, and then I can go over to Autodesk Inventor, go up to open. I need to navigate to my file. There it is. And it brings up this DWG DXF file wizard. And that will, and it knows we've now got a DXF file. I can go to next. And what it'll pull up is this preview of what it's going to be opening. So I can see the majority of my file here. Now I know it's opening the right thing. If I go to next again, the default here will be this detected units. And it'll usually detect inches off of Gear Generator. Well, as I said, I'm working completely in metric. So if I go back over here, I'm going to specify my units to be centimeters, because that's what I'm working in. And then I can click Finish. And now it'll open up this sketch, this 2D file of my gears. So now that we've got our gears that we created into Autodesk Inventor, we need to, if we double click on them, we now are editing them as a 2D sketch. Well, as I run my mouse over this, you can see this, the way Gear Generator works is it doesn't actually export it as a single continuous vector, but as a whole bunch of little vectors. And we're going to run into a problem with that later, but I'll show you how to fix it too. So now what we do is we can highlight our entire gear, and there you can see even this center circle isn't actually a circle, it's a whole bunch of little arcs. Oops. And then I can go to copy. I have this whole gear copied, and I can create a new standard file, create a 2D sketch, and paste in my gear. Now I can see our gear showed up over here. Well, I like to work with our gears when they're, or anything really, when it's centered around the origin. So to do that, I'm going to go up to here, create a circle by tangent points, and then using all of these little arcs, I just select 3 of them, and it gives me now a circle where the center point is the center of my gear. So now if I go up to Move and select the entire thing, select my base point, and bring it down to here, and it should just snap onto my origin, which is exactly what I wanted. And now I've got my gear centered around my origin. Well, now I want the Tetrix pattern on the center of this so I can attach a motor hub to this gear, or any other really Tetrix part to the center of this gear. I'll go up to Open, and then what I've done is I've downloaded the entire 2012 kit of parts, and the kit doesn't change each year, so the same kit will work every year. But I now need to select all files so I can see all these PTC files, and I need a file now, any file that has the Tetrix hole pattern. Well, I know the flat bracket has that, so I've got now, I know this is the Tetrix hole pattern because they made it. So if I click on my surface and go Create Sketch, I can now select this hole pattern, copy, and paste it into my new gear. Well, same thing we had to do with the gear. I'd like this to be at the center of my gear so that it's actually useful. So I can just take my stuff, highlight it, select my base point as the center of this pattern, and move it into the center of my gear. Now I can delete everything from the center except for what I want, which is my hole pattern. So I can get rid of all of those little arcs in that little circle I used to move the gear. And now we've got a gear. Well, we're not quite done because of the way Gear Generator works and exports files, and these aren't one continuous vector. There are a whole bunch of little open loops or little gaps between all of these vectors. So what I'm going to do is go to right click and go to Sketch Doctor. Then I can click Diagnose Sketch, and we see all of these errors and all of this white stuff. That's all of those open loops there that are going to prevent us from making this a 3D solid. So if I go through and have it help me fix all of these, I can just hold the Enter key and it fixes all of the points. It's basically fixing them all really fast because I'm clicking yes very fast by holding Enter. And eventually you'll get all the way around your gear with everything fixed. The bigger your gear is, the longer this is going to take, but it's pretty easy and does fix your problem. So we should be getting close here. Maybe. This does take a while. So now I've fixed my gear, and to verify that I can go back to my Sketch Doctor, diagnose it one more time, and I should get this all tests completed successfully with no problems. Good. So now if I go to Finish Sketch, zoom out a little here, I can now extrude my gear to be whatever size I want, and we've got a 3D gear. And you do the same thing now with this other gear, and you can put the Tetrix pattern in it, or put a Lego axle hole in it, or whatever you want. But yeah, that's how you create take a file from Gear Generator into Inventor and add a Tetrix hole pattern to it.